not only as our sheriff, but also as a husband of Marissa for a long, long time, and grandfather of several grandchildren. And he's a great family man also. As you know, Sheriff Judd has been in the law enforcement business for over half a century. Actually, he started in 1972 as a low-level dispatcher, and then rose through the ranks, sergeant through colonel, and then in 2004 was elected overwhelmingly by our county as our sheriff, and ever since then he gets elected without opposition most of the time. And that's because everybody knows about Sheriff Judd. If you lived under a rock, then you need introduction to Sheriff Judd. Otherwise, he's nationally well known. He has a bachelor's and master's degree from Rollins College, but then he didn't stop there. He went through FBI and Law Enforcement Academy courses, first in leadership development, and he has taken all the courses that are available to the highest level of sheriffs around the country. He's been also the president of Florida Sheriff's Association. He's also was the National Sheriff's Association of large counties of 500,000 people or more. And in fact, he's the first recipient of a national honor. He has had several other awards, in terms of human rights protections and children protection. This is a good segue from Attorney General talking about law enforcement and actually mentioning Polk County. Also, you may not know, but he was, and he still is, advisor to President Trump, and also he advised President Bush on local law enforcement issues. Without further ado, my sheriff, my friend, America's sheriff, actually.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much, my friend. It is truly my honor to be a Polk County sheriff, and I'm going to put all this stuff here someplace so it's out of the way, and a friend of Mr. Patel. Listen, I'm excited to be with you again. The last time we spoke, we discussed the hand of leadership faced by law enforcement. We talked about generational gaps in the workforce, COVID and its impact, national media view on police, the mama effect, and the cutthroat labor race. And quite frankly, the cutthroat labor race has not diminished at all. In fact, it's stepped up. Well, we've survived and thrived in such of those environments because we were supported by our local government officials, our state government, and most importantly, our community. But good things don't just happen. Good people make good things happen. And I call that the necessary trifecta to be successful in keeping the community safe. The state government's got to be supportive, the county government's got to be supportive, and the community's got to be supportive, or you can't have a safe environment. I continue to be stressed whenever I see things like happen in Chicago, and they do the same thing over and over and expect different results. Now, we don't have enough time in this 40 minutes that I'm going to be with you today to talk about all the nuances of success, but they said talk about some dynamics in leadership. So I'm going to focus on what I think is the most important area: how you create value, how you earn trust, so that you can move forward and serve the community. Well, first and foremost, you have to have the county decision makers in your corner, or you have to be in their corner, whether that's the city or the county. You have to have the state decision makers in your corner, as well as the county decision makers, or more importantly, you have to be in their corner, and that's the governor and the legislature. And how do you do that? Solid communication. There can be no leadership, not even poor leadership, without some form of communications. And the better you communicate, The more effective your communications, the better your relationship and the better government works to serve the people. And the focus for all communications has got to be to create relationships so that we serve the people. The strength of our community engagement and the effectiveness of leadership are tied directly together. The relationships we build through consistent, meaningful communications define our influence. Listen, folks want to be led. They want strong leaders. They want ethical, moral, and legal leaders. And I've heard it and watched it over and over and over where the leaders have simply lost the trust of the community. So you have to be seen and you have to be heard through your different media sources, the traditional media sources, written media sources, and we're going to talk a lot about social media today. When leaders communicate well, they create trust and a foundation for community success. Now, I'm going to talk specifically about what I know, law enforcement, but the reality of it is this is true no matter what your industry is. In all of my years of public service, I've always put communication as the single most important thing we do as a person in a leadership position. So let me play you a few videos today to illustrate to you what I think has worked. The first one is a compilation that they run on me about every December by one of the local news groups. You messed up when you came to Polk County and thought you could beat up an officer. Just chill out. Drink a 7-Up, eat a moon pie, quit murdering people. This has more twists and turns than a bucket of snakes. People kept getting killed, and it was like, crap. Give a brother a break here. Quit killing each other in these car crashes. This year's 2021 Christmas Grinch. Now, obviously, this guy's got eggnog for brains. I guess these two folks were busy making goo-goo eyes at each other or not paying attention to the sheriff. Our detectives were able to run him down, and he was there. And he had old Pikachu in the car. That's right. You had a rush of testosterone and a rush of idiocy. This is a sorry human being. Anyone that would break into someone's home while they were at the funeral of a loved one needs to be put under prison. It all started with a TikTok video, a devious lick. Well, we're going to give you an arrestable lick. I didn't start out with once upon a time in a land far away, because it's true even though it seems like it should be some kind of horrible fairy tale. That's pretty cool deal. Wait, you got something to say? This one says, I want to go home with you. If you're just doing lazy business or sloppy business, either come up with a stone, give the lady her money back. If it's not criminal, there's not going to be any problems. If you ripped her off, you're going to jail. That's a promise. Yeah. Clear communication is important. And also you have to get folks' attention. So I put some levity into the process as well. And I was asked, and I've been asked many times, well, why do you do that or how do you do that? I said, listen, most everyone was raised up with their mama or their daddy or their some relative or guardian reading stories to them. We like to hear stories. We like to hear stories. So I decided early on that I would always deliver the press conferences and the feedback in story form, and that I would talk straight on. And I had politicians tell me, oh, you're going to get in trouble with that. Well, 6 terms later, I seem to be doing all right. You know what I'm saying? If it didn't work, I wouldn't do it. So now let's talk about my world, the world of crisis for a second. Real crisis, life and death crisis. The fastest route to get all of our media resources. So speed and accuracy are critical to maintaining trust during emergencies. People are scared. They're scared because you're running some bad guy through the neighborhood with a gun or there's gunshots. And you need to be able to communicate with them. And in this day of social media, when 86% of all their communications is over this phone, if you're not fast and as accurate as possible, fast does not always equal accurate. Somebody else will be filling the space with this stuff, negative stuff, dangerous stuff. So it's important. It's important to have a healthy relationship with your traditional media. It's important because you want them in your corner in the good times, and you really need them in your corner in the bad times. But you don't need the national media or the state media pushing out information, and they're a well-regarded source and think, well, if David Muir said it, it must be true. So let's think about January 15th, 2015, at 5:45 in the evening, a local pawn shop was robbed. The 911 call came in. The robbers fled armed with guns. We were on a manhunt. We found them and we pursued them. They shot at Haines City police officers. They fled into a neighborhood much by mistake. In their excitement, they wanted to take the next road north, but they got scared, turned into a neighborhood, and now they were boxed in. They all ran. One person broke into a home, and there he viciously stabbed and murdered a mother and daughter. We didn't know where he was. We didn't know where the others were for a while. We knew we were in a neighborhood. We had to warn the community that these are really, really, really bad people, and they're scared, and they'll hurt you. We wanted everybody inside. We wanted their doors locked. Quite frankly, we wanted them to know the gravity of the situation. And the search was on. So here's what we did. We played two videos. This was the night before we caught them.
Breaking news you need to know about to keep your family safe. Sheriff Grady Judd telling people in Polk County to lock their doors right now.
Two armed and dangerous men are on the run, and authorities say they've already opened fire on police.
Now, the crime spree beginning with a robbery in Auburndale, then a wild chase in Haines City when the suspects allegedly tried to run over police officers and deputies.
It's much better for them to turn themselves in peacefully, and that's the way we want to arrest them and take them into custody, than for us to end up in a gunfight with them. If they choose the latter, we'll give them a gunfight, one they'll never forget. But it's important. That's not what we want, but we're prepared to do that. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. So this communication was going out in the Haines City area on traditional media and social media, which was not even as advanced just a few years ago as it is today. So here, now overnight, we were able to round them up and catch all of them. And then we were doing a wrap-up press conference the next day. And pay close attention to the question I was asked by a news reporter.
Some of the comments that you made last night about shooting the suspects possibly, and some comments today about the ready for a gunfight. Was that in the heat of the moment? Do you have any regret about that in light of what?
No, I don't know. I not only have no regret, I'm pretty excited about telling you that's exactly what would have happened. And make no mistake about it, there's nothing about politically correct in a gunfight. There's nothing about politically correct when you're keeping people alive and well and safe. And the people of this community and these law enforcement officers come first. I meant every word of it then, and I mean every word of it now. If you surrender peacefully, that's the way we prefer it. You start pointing guns at us, you can not only plan on, but you can guarantee we're going to shoot you. People understand that. They do. Now, this reporter saw me later in the parking lot. He was wrapping up to leave, and I was walking through the parking lot after the press conference, and he came up to me and said, "Sheriff, I really didn't mean to make you mad." I said, "Make me mad? You made my day." I said, because when you set that up, you teed it up for me to hit a grand slam. I said, I will be viral with that. And I appreciate it, and I hope you come to all my other press conferences and say stuff like that. So it worked well. But media is how people form their perceptions of leadership. It's how they form their perception of whether they're safe or not. I've seen safe communities. Data shows it's a safe community, but the community doesn't feel safe. So if you've heard any of my speeches along the way, I'll say, thank you for allowing me to be here. Crime's at a 53-year low in Polk County, where you're not only safe, but you feel safe. Well, you feel safe based on the leadership and the communications that you provide. Now, in today's world, the magic lies in social media. Platforms like Facebook and X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are today's front porch conversation. They give the community members a feeling of direct access to their leaders. It goes from our lips to their ears, and it also creates buy-in. It's not just about posting something, it's about connecting. So we're going to dive in and explore the power of communications via social media in the modern age. But before I do that, I want to share how fast this works. Now, Sergeant Clark and I worked on tweaking this presentation up into yesterday afternoon, so it's current with some of the information and data I provide to you. But I filmed at 4 o'clock a short video clip that we don't have today at 4 o'clock. We released it at 4:30 with me bad-mouthing the Chicago police decision not to back up the ICE police in that event. I'm sure if you watch the news, you've seen it. At 4:30. At 9:30, my PIOs text me and said, you've done 1 million views. Between 4:30 and 9:30 last night, you did 1 million views. I woke up this morning and I was 2.1 million views overnight. Why? Why? Because somebody stood up and took a leadership position and said, you know, you folks are out of your mind, the police not running to the police when they need backup. But see, it's just now beginning to tilt or turn. Now when I get back, I've got a national interview at 1:30. And I'm fixing to wear the Chicago police out about that. And there are so many, and I got on all police administrators statewide and nationwide about why aren't you standing up saying the same thing? You've got a group of federal police officers enforcing the law, doing what their boss said, following the federal law. They are being attacked. They are being attacked by these criminals, and the local police run away. That's a slippery slope. So when someone stands up and does the right thing and uses common sense, the overwhelming majority of the people go, yes. Now, there's always going to be a loud few that the media will go to. But you know what? Statistically speaking, they are non-events. Non-events. And believe it or not, I kind of like that 1 or 2% talking real crazy. Because it makes you even look more sane than maybe you really are. I don't know. So let's think about this for a second. I'm going to show you a video that has absolutely nothing to do with law enforcement and how it occurred. I had a business owner, a local business owner, started a barbecue restaurant. And he had really, really good food, but it just wasn't catching on. So he called the office. People call the sheriff. If all else fails, call the sheriff. And said, we're not selling barbecue, and it's good barbecue. We need help or we're going to go under. Will you come eat and do a video clip? And I said, yes. So after the video clip, there was some slaw left and tater tots. And here's the magic behind the big mouth, okay? One of my communications people said, do this. Hey, you know I'm going to get my deputies here. we're going to arrest this tater tot because it's against the law. You know what I'm saying? $400,000 views. 65,000 views in the first 2 hours. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. That's about the silliest thing that you could ever do. But it's about connecting. And people like to laugh occasionally. And people like to know that you're talking to them. Now, my first response is, there's 400,000 people that don't have a life. I mean, but 86% who get their news get it solely from a digital device, even if they're watching the national news. 86%. Now, the next slide I want you to think about for a minute. When leaders use media well, they meet people where they are. And that's what we have to do in this day and age. We have to meet people where they are. And where they are is, whether you agree or not, they're on their screens and in their feeds. In 2024, our agency had 135 million media engagements in 2024. Last year, we gained 630,000 followers, created 4,977 social media posts, our one agency. You go, oh my gosh, how big's your communications team? Well, I had 3 last year. I've added a 4th one. I'll talk about that in a little bit if we have time. So far in 2025, up to this point, we've done 4,946 social media posts with 330 million views. The attention to social media has gone up, so we've had to ramp up in the first place. Now, with these numbers, we know the community is engaged. Like this video that I'm going to show you was 21 million, let me call them McViews. This goober is called Dayton Schaefer. He's 18. He went to McDonald's. And you know, human error, they messed his order up. It seems that maybe he didn't get his McNuggets, his chicken McNuggets. Well, you'll find in a second that this guy acted like a McNut. So this McNut didn't get his McNuggets from McDonald's. So he calls 3 times. And on 3 different occasions, he threatens to shoot the place up. He uses all kinds of foul language. And on the first call, the manager said, "Sir, if you'll come back, we'll make it right. We apologize." His rant went on, and his rant went on, and his rant went on. So he used his McPhone to make a McThreat to McDonald's, his actual phone number. So it was a slow McPitch for us to make a McRest. We went to his house, and he said, "Yeah, I made the McPhone calls to McDonald's because I didn't get my McNuggets." You see why I call him a McNut? Anyway, he's in the McJail. Oh, the Polk County Jail. Have a good day. So we got their attention. It was funny. This guy was threatening to be an active shooter. We were chasing a guy before he could go back and shoot up McDonald's, which is what he threatened to do. But if I'd have given that in the traditional police broadcast, we have a perpetrator who is a person of interest that we are currently doing an investigation on. I can't give you any details right now. Who would have paid attention to that? Who would have paid attention to that? So anyway, so then we had a significant engagement that we needed to deal with on the open carry. And I did a couple of videos. This one did 4.5 million. Some people think, well, if I'm carrying a firearm, I'll announce my presence and my intentions. You don't scare away real bad guys by carrying a firearm in a holster. You don't scare real bad guys by slinging an AR-15 over your shoulder. A real bad guy will take it from you and stick it up your butt and then discharge it. So the reality of it is, I talk straight to them, because there is this illusion that if you carry a gun in a holster and you swagger down the street, the waters of evil are going to part. A real bad guy is not intimidated by that at all. You know, quite frankly, there's not a more passionate Second Amendment person than me. I believe in concealed carry, so you have a tactical advantage. I am not for open carry. We've got it, but I'm not for open carry, because open carry takes away all your tactical advantage, all of your tactical advantage. And this is a vacation state. I want you to think about this for a minute. I want you to think that you're here from Europe. You've never seen a firearm except maybe on a movie or in a book someplace. And you come here on vacation and you think, man, I just can't wait to get on that Clearwater beach. And you go there and there's an 85-year-old man in a Speedo wearing a John Wayne holster and a gun. You don't feel safe. If the 85-year-old man wants a gun and wants to be able to keep the people on the beach safe, put it in his dadgum little pouch and hide it from everybody. He's got the tactical advantage. He's still got his concealed firearm. He's still a Second Amendment guy. And if some guy wanders out there with a knife and wants to slash people, instead of running up and sticking him in the back first because they see the gun, he has the opportunity to protect the people. So that's what started all of that. But I think we all recognize the power of social media. Frankly, you can't afford not to. Let's put this into perspective. America's #1 nightly news broadcast is World News Tonight with David Muir. He averages between 6 and 7 million views a week. That's significant. Meanwhile, this one clip from one of my recent press conferences garnered 10 million views in just 2 days. And now I got to thank Chief Hodges from Bloomington, Minnesota. He sent people down to learn how to do these undercover predator stings, child predator stings, and human trafficking operations. And he was standing behind me. And when this played, Elon Musk saw it, commented, and reposted it, and gave me an extra 20 million, as we'll talk about. So think about this. What we're about to show you did 35 million views. There's things in life you just can't believe. So you order up a prostitute, right? This prostitute lives with his mother, by the way. He's got a massive criminal history, a 21-year criminal history with 31 criminal charges. So you order up a prostitute, and that's what you think you're getting. Now, when you look at that, you go, wow, that's pretty rough, but, you know, any port in a storm. And then the next morning when you wake up, you find out this is who it really is. Yeah. We call that coyote ugly. You see, he's laying on your arm in bed. You go, well, it was rough last night, but I've sobered up. I think I'll just chew my arm off and ease away so I don't disturb him or wake him up. All right, so you think you're buying this, you're getting this. He's got 31 criminal charges, and heck, if you're lucky, he doesn't kill you overnight. You know, if David Muir had run that, he'd have bumped his numbers up. You know, one video clip does 35 million views. David Muir does 6 million views, 7 million views all week long, collectively. Not 7 million a night. You see the power of social media? And what did we do? This guy had a really bad history, and he was out as a male prostitute while we were trying to find victims of human trafficking. So at the end of the day, there's that. And when I teach, and I coached this last week to the South Carolina police chiefs, you go, well, we don't have any big operations. We can't do that. It's the small things that touch the community. It's not the big things. So there's photos of our deputies that we put out helping clean up a neighborhood after a bad storm. The tree on someone's roof. What's the traditional police response? Oh my gosh, a tree's fallen on my roof. The police arrive and go, ma'am, we have done an investigative survey and there is a tree on your roof. And the lady's thinking, no crap, that's why I called you. And ma'am, if you haven't looked, we're the police, we're not tree surgeons, but if you'll look and go online, I'm certain you can find a tree surgeon. But what do? We go cut the tree off the lady's roof. That's called value added. Value added. If my deputy had walked away and we didn't do something for that lady, it would have been a bad day for him or her. So then the neighbors took these pictures. We didn't take them, and the neighbors posted them on social media. So thanks to our social media presence, it's the people that do a lot of our broadcasting and our rebroadcasting for us. And we end up with countless views. So let's look at the next slide. This is something that got just tons of views, and this connects you with the people in the community. We didn't take that video, the community did. I, quite frankly, didn't know a big boy could run that fast. But you see what happens when you go to the community and you meet them where they are. Feel-good photographs are important. They call us to get snakes and catch alligators. So a deputy helped change a woman's flat tire. We escorted an elderly lady into church. We had a video last year where a deputy stopped an old man with an oxygen mask was mowing his front yard. The deputy stopped and mowed the man's front yard for him. And people go, that's not the police's job. Well, yes, it is. Yes, it is, because what are we doing? Creating relationships. We're creating trust. And you can't provide safety and security without communication and effective leadership. It's impossible. You can't have the trust of the community if you don't go above and beyond. Sometimes effective communications even means being direct and stern.
But we have received information in social media that some of the criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods. I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their guns.
Now, when I said that, I want you to understand we just went to help the Lakeland Police Department because some peaceful protesters become unpeaceful and sat down in an intersection and would not leave. So we got there to back the police up, and I told the chief of law enforcement, I said, don't spray them with chemical agent. Now, the reason I said that is because at the time, these big cities were saying, oh, we've taken away the chemical agent and the rubber bullets, right? And so my chief said, what are you talking about? Don't spray them with chemical agent? I said, no, bathe them in it. We put $22,000 worth of chemical agent in an intersection. They let us have that intersection. And then they were running to their cars. You see, they all gathered their cars up and hid them over in one area. We met them over there and gassed them in their cars just as a goodbye present. But guess how many got injured that day? None. Guess how many windows were broken? None. Guess how many arrests we made? None. Guess, did they come back next weekend and try it again? No. But then there was going to be a press conference. The police wanted me to do it at my shop. And I go, oh, no, this happened in Lakeland. We're going to do it in Lakeland's shop. Now, I said that, and one of the deputy police chiefs was breaking out in sweat and worrying in the back of the room. And I go, after it's over, I go, what are you doing? Well, I don't know what the community's going to say. I said, what they're going to say is, we're in trouble if we try to break into somebody's house and set it on fire or steal like the social media said they were. Now let's fast forward about 30 days later. One of the Black Lives Matter vice presidents came to see me on another issue. He needed some help. Come on in, let's talk. And he told me what he needed. There was an investigation he needed help with in another jurisdiction where it wasn't moving along. I said, we'll take care of it. He got up, shook my hand, good to see you, and he got to the front door and he turned around and he said, Sheriff, we got your message. I said, I'm glad you did. I met with, during that same time, the folks that wanted to protest, and I said, look, call us, tell us you want to protest. We'll make sure it's safe for you to protest. Even if you're protesting against us, it's okay. That's what America's about. So now we're in the height of all this gnarliness. It's Friday afternoon. I get a call from a group that wanted to have a march and a protest Saturday in Winter Haven. Now keep in mind, all this hype and ugliness is going on, and they refused them a parade permit because, well, you come in on Friday afternoon, we got to do our government paperwork, we got to notify the fire department, the police department, and they said, well, we're gonna march down the street to the city hall on Saturday. And they, no, you're not. It's against the law and all that. So they call me. So I called the city manager up, who's my friend, and I said, hey, we seem to have a little disagreement here. Yeah, they didn't file the paperwork in time. And I said, well, look, I carry this little pad in my pocket, and it says that the sheriff is going to authorize patrol cars in front of and in back of that march in the morning through the middle of Winter Haven. Now, I would love for your police cars to be there, but we're going to have us a parade tomorrow. And when they get to City Hall, then they're going to protest. So we can either have an event where the police show up because they're trying to use their American God-given rights, and you can try to force them onto the sidewalk and have ugliness, or we can make it happen. So I choose to make it happen. City manager says, Sheriff, that's what you want, that's what we'll do. So we had Winter Haven police cars, Lakeland or Sheriff's Office cars. We had a parade. They protested at City Hall. It was fabulous. How many arrests? 0. How much disturbance? 0. How much public trust? 100%. People were bragging on the city of Winter Haven. We're so happy with them. We love Winter Haven. We love the sheriff. So we took what could have been a traditional government snafu and made it a win-win-win, and that's what leadership and communication does. So then, as I wrap up today, and if we have time, I'll take some questions. If not, I'll just get out of here. There was some rappers that pulled some video from what they saw online and created this rap video.
When they would talk to each other and they wanted to make a point, they would say, GW. Well, we got them. GW.
I'm kamikaze, hard-headed, don't learn. I told mama I'm a count, I got a thumb. I'm in Polk, ducking Grady on a run. And if they want me better, tell them do the job. I'm kamikaze, hard-headed, don't learn. I told mama I'm a count, I got a thumb. I'm in Polk, ducking Grady on a run. And if they want me better, tell them do the job. I'm from Polk, where they flexing on purpose. 10-4, do you copy? It's murder. I'm from the east side. Jay Green died, the whole kind of grieving. I'm the one. You better ask Avenue, keep it street or so. Now they search my granny house, I'm forever gone. City punch, time my phone shot, metronome. I'm really, really low key, I'm talking baritone. And I'm rubbing off the paint without the acetone. If she a snack, I'm at your pantry door. I'll play Fortnite, but I be breaking up them happy homes. And it's gotta be a classic song. DZ on the beat, tape master, chef just grab the stove. They contact and troll, and they been trying to spray me. Since Miss Mary had Kayleen.
Them shoes got you sliding everywhere. Duck, hold on. They think they ducking Grady. Oh, shit. They got a dog. They got a dog. What's a dog? It's a dog. You ain't running your gun? I ain't got my gun. Why you ain't running your dog? You got your gun? You ain't got your gun? Here. I think they ducking Grady. They think. They think. They think. They think. They think they ducking Grady. They think. They think. They think they ducking Grady. They think. They think. They think they ducking Grady.
So they posted this rap video and they grabbed this footage from us, and you could see they made up their vest and all of that. Well, some of our deputies got irritated. Oh, look at that, they're making fun of us. And I go, this is tremendous, this is awesome. And I told my communications staff, I said, hey, go find those guys and let's make a rap video with them as a sequel, because this thing went viral, right? I said, let's do one. And I want you to think through this as you see the second one, okay? This is all about connecting with our community, okay? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. This is still, once again, another press conference of someone we got to find. This is Deputy Roscoe that's with me and Deputy Robley. They're the guys who are going to catch Stefan. And here he is. He's ducking Grady. Can you believe that? He's ducking Grady?
He thinks he's ducking Grady.
Describing living the life of crime. My ops, they cyclops, we going eye for eye. Business on the phone, I don't condone, it's never spoke about. Glizzy on me poking out, sheriff working overtime. Bricks come from Bogota, stamped up in no surprise. I've been catching slams, now my mugshot posterized.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through.
They tired of telling, I'm so surprised. Hollering that he missed his wife and kids, okay. Wow, you Michael Powell, code name, kids next door. I keep the number 9, I came in this game so raw, I got soul ties. I'm telling no lies, them people trying to catch me. Grady doing a sweep, and it seems like they ready. Cause my price is so young, I'm surviving R. Kelly. I'm a Polk County legend now, I ain't wanna bring it up. But right here they armed and dangerous. Behind me, G-Dub, they gon' step in the name of love. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run.
Y'all have anything to say?
Yes, sir, Sheriff. I have something to say.
Hey, you can run, but you can't hide. You can keep dodging and ducking, but you can't fly. You can't lie. Old Grady get his man every time. He gon' get his own family if they try to cross the line. That's why you trying to hide. Cause you know that we gon' get you. It's obvious a crime done been committed. So we on the mission. And we ain't gon' stop until we get you. You think you ducking Grady? Boy, you ignorant. Stop. Get your sap-sucking hands up. And when I catch you, I'm gon' slap you in these handcuffs. Man up, stop running, pull them pants up. Ooh, when I catch you, I'ma show you what we stand for. Stand up, everybody get your hands up. Do the ducking Grady like you crazy, let's spaz out. Stand up, everybody get your hands up. Do the ducking Grady like you crazy, let's spaz out. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run. I'm in Polk, I'm in Polk, I'm on the run.
Well, Stefan, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You thought you're ducking Grady.
You were?
Did you think you were ducking Grady?
Nope.
GW. You're here. You want to pick a jail cell?
Got nothing to say, man.
You don't got nothing. You want a lawyer? Get him a dozen lawyers. He's ducking Grady.
But you won't be ducking us.
You're duckless Grady now. Yeah. You cannot believe the positive feedback that we got from that communication. Now, one of the neighborhoods that part of that was shot in, about 2 years later, 3 years later, the Lakeland police was chasing a guy who turned around and shot at them, hit one of them in the foot. Thank goodness it hit in the sole of his shoe and it didn't do any significant damage. And they had to shoot him. Was there riots? No. Was there witnesses that wouldn't come forward? No. The entire neighborhood cooperated. It's the relationships you make, the friendships you make. You treat people fair. You go above and beyond. We have a charity. We raise between $350,000 and $400,000 a year. We reprogram that back into the community. We have a deal with the big box warehouses. When they damage something, they bring it to us. And we redistribute that into the communities. On Christmas, we give toys out. We have a statement that no child wakes up Christmas morning in Polk County without a toy. No child. So what we're doing is we're communicating, yes, we arrest people, yes, we write tickets, but we do much, much more, and now the community knows. That's what the business people in our community do. They support us, and they encourage that happen, that we can do that sort of thing happens. So it's not just us in a vacuum, it's us with a community that allows that, and it's the wonderful businessmen. Now I have a card here. You would be sad if I didn't have a card, wouldn't you? Now you may recognize this guy. He's not a criminal. He is one of the businessmen that communicates. He's one of the businessmen that's engaged, not only a remarkably successful businessman, but how he gives back to the community and he makes a positive difference. And he's your chairman. He's one of the best. And he goes above and beyond. So if you will, Mr. Chairman, would you come up here for a second? Because I think, we should make him an honorary deputy sheriff. What do you think? Now, in order to be a deputy sheriff, you have to take an oath. Are you prepared to take an oath? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I state your name. I, Piyush Patel,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the government of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
that I'm duly qualified
that I am duly qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution
under the Constitution
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida.
that I will well and faithfully perform
I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Polk County Sheriff's Office Honorary Deputy,
the duties of Polk County Sheriff's Honorary
Deputy,
Deputy,
upon which I'm now about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right, yay. Now hold that. Okay. Now,
This is incredible.
if you could, well, you've got to have a badge. I mean, it's not over. Everybody wears a shield, so can I put this shield on you? Would that be all right? All right?
It'll be my honor, sir.
Okay. Man, we're going to officially pin you, and there you go. All right. Let me get it straight. We want it straight. There we go. All right. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to be with you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are pleasant
Thank you. Thank you.
Sheriff, we got one question for you. If you could
One
give
question.
a little vignette. Would you share the story about the time, unfortunately, someone shot up one of your sheriff and you were asked after the event why you only use so many bullets?
Sure. Well, I'm taking you back now 19 years. I had only been the sheriff about a year. And one of our deputies, and this is how dangerous this job turns, a deputy stops a vehicle for speeding. That's all. Speeding, he's going to give the guy a traffic citation. Well, he determines that the guy doesn't have a driver's license. So he's a pretty good sized guy, and he's going to take him into custody. So the protocol is to call for a backup. So the backup car is on the way. The guy says, am I going to be arrested? So the deputy says, well, it's hot, and, we really don't want to arrest you, but let me check your paperwork out a little further. So he's just stalling for time. Well, the guy jumps out and he runs into the woods, so we call for K-9. This is like something we do 1,000 times a year, 10,000 times a year. So the K-9 tracks our suspect, who is now resisting arrest, into the very thick vegetation and wood. So there's the K-9 deputy, and now our originating deputy, who is the backup. The suspect hides, and he shoots and kills the K-9, shoots and kills the K-9 deputy, shoots the backup deputy. So now we're calling for assistance. The Lakeland police come out, and they have a wonderful police department. He's coming, the suspect's trying to get out of the perimeter. He shoots twice at the city police officers. They shoot back at him and turn him back into the perimeter. So the next day, we have SWAT teams from all over Central Florida. This is one thing that makes me so mad with Chicago. We couldn't keep cops away when we needed help, and Chicago won't help the feds when they need help. So we line SWAT teams up shoulder to shoulder, and this is probably 200 acres of very, very thick vegetation. And they walk shoulder to shoulder, and our suspect has kind of hidden underneath a big downed tree. And as they walk up, he points what turns out to be the dead deputy's gun at the SWAT team. And of course, the SWAT teams all got rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and it was like, brr, 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 and it's over with. So it's Saturday afternoon. We've not even buried our deputy yet. And I get a phone call. I think it's the Orange County Sheriff. I answer it. Turns out it's the Orlando Sentinel. And he said, I just talked to the medical examiner's office, and they said that you all shot this guy 68 times. I said, well, yes. He says, for those who would wonder, why did you shoot him 68 times? And I said, well, I guess we ran out of bullets. And he laughed and said, I'm going to write that. And I said, well, I hope that you do. My wife, who's sitting on the couch over there, goes, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I said, I'm telling people the truth. Well, it did so well in the newspaper that I got up and started talking about it in front of televisions, and social media wasn't as prolific. People understand that. And of course, I had more commentary than that. I said, he's already killed a deputy, killed a canine, shot the backup, shot at 2 police officers, pointed a gun at a SWAT team. What did he think was going to happen? So we did a follow-up investigation, and we tracked him to South America. It turned out he was an assassin for an organized crime group. DEA worked with us, and we tracked him to at least 17 murders in South America. So it was nothing at all for him to try to kill all of us. That's what these law enforcement officers deal with in the community. And fortunately, it doesn't end up to be that horrible. But that was the first foray into talking straight and straight talk, and does it work or not? And I'm suggesting to you, communication, honest communication works. God bless you all. Thank you for allowing me to be with you.